Great day to be in real estate. This is Duanebeisner, sales manager and sales representative for ERA Real Estate. Thanks for joining me today. For the quote of the day, God places the heaviest burden on those who can carry its weight, by Reggie White. Say that 5 times fast. And for Duane's joke of the day, a pregnant woman gets into a car accident and falls into a deep coma. Asleep for nearly 6 months, she wakes up and sees that she's no longer pregnant. Frantically, she asks the doctor about her baby. The doctor replies, "Ma'am, you had twins, a boy and a girl. The babies are fine. Your brother came in and named them." The woman thinks to herself, "Oh no, not my brother. He's an idiot." Expecting the worst, she asks the doctor, "Well, what's the girl's name?" "Denise," the doctor says. The new mother thinks, "Wow, that's not a bad name. Guess I was wrong about my brother. I like Denise." Then she asks the doctor, "What's the boy's name?" The doctor replies, "The nephew." And for Duane's business tip of the day, great salespeople have 3 wonderful qualities. 1, they enjoy talking to people. 2, they enjoy talking to people who don't like talking to people. 3, they talk to people even when they don't feel like talking to people. Think about it. The Darwin Award of the day. When the person reporting this story was in aviation electronics school in the service, his instructor began his class on insulators with this observation: "Wood is a non-conductor, right? Well, don't you believe it?" He had purchased an acre of property that was covered in fast-growing popular trees, each about 5 inches thick and 20 feet tall. Axe in hand, he set out to clear the yard. His wife expressed concern about the high-voltage power lines that passed along the edge of the lot, but he assured her that there was nothing to worry about because wood is non-conductive. A few minutes later, one of his mighty blows felled a tree, which toppled directly onto the power lines. He stood there transfixed as blue electricity snaked down the tree trunk and up the axe handle and blew him 20 feet across the yard. Fortunately, his wife and daughter witnessed the event and rushed him to the hospital, where he was treated for 3rd-degree burns on his palms and soles, where the electricity entered and exited his body. He stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks until his arms quit shaking uncontrollably. Now for Duane's social commentary, this one is the first part of a 6-part series that's entitled Achieve a Winning Attitude in 6 Easy Steps. A positive attitude, optimism, expectancy, and enthusiasm is the key difference between a top sales performer and an average one. The reason's simple: if you don't have the energy to get out there and sell, you won't. Even so, many sales professionals find it difficult to approach selling with a positive attitude each and every day. My hope is that this article will explain exactly how to tune your attitude so it creates more success every time you go out there and sell. So step number 1 is to realize that you are in control. Attitude is not the result of what happens in the world, but how one decides to interpret what happens in the world. Take the weather, for example. In the United States, many people feel depressed when it's rainy and uplifted when it's sunny. In the Middle East, many people feel the exact opposite. A cooling rain is an excuse to have a picnic under a tree. Similarly, many adults grumble when it snows while most children are delighted. This illustrates that one's attitude to the weather is essentially arbitrary. It's not the weather that creates the attitude, but the interpretation of what the weather means. Arguing that children like snow because they don't have to go to school is missing the point. A snowbound child could just as easily mope around inside and complain about not being able to play croquet because it's snowing. Similarly, a sales representative making a sales call while it's snowing can grouse about the extra drive time or look forward to the appreciation that a customer might feel because the sales rep is committed enough to fight the weather to make that meeting. In short, attitude is the mental filter through which one sees the world. Some see the world through a filter of optimism. No matter what happens, they always make lemonade from lemons. Every truly great sales professional thinks this way. Others see the world through a filter of pessimism. No matter what happens, they always find the cloud in the silver lining. People who think this way are usually terrible at sales. So, most sales reps, however, don't belong to either extreme. Instead, most sales reps, and indeed most people, have a variable filter which creates resourceful attitudes and non-resourceful attitudes based upon arbitrary interpretations of events. Their challenge for such people is to trade their variable and out of control mental filter for a consciously optimistic mental filter in order to consistently create the attitude that results in top sales performance. Stay tuned for step 2 tomorrow. And now for Duane's real estate news. It's the Obama administration's Housing Scorecard. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, has a new monthly housing scorecard, and it's full of numbers. It comes in a package of data that's emailed out to reporters that includes the already widely cited Home Affordability Modification Program monthly status report. This is the one that calls out all the banks on how many borrowers they're getting into trial and permanent modifications and how many are failing the program. It also adds the number of borrowers counseled, which, don't get me wrong, is a big number at 839,000 in May, but that is down from 1.075 million in April. Then there's my favorite part, where they calculate the change in aggregate home equity. The number is about $1 trillion since the first quarter of 2009. In other words, homeowner equity has increased by $1 trillion since the first quarter of 2009. Good news. The report also shows the ugly side, like FHA delinquencies and prime loan delinquencies, both on the rise. Foreclosure completions are also way up from a year ago, and the number of borrowers failing the HAMP program is growing faster than the number of borrowers getting permanent modifications. In May, 47,724 borrowers got so-called permanent status, while 152,056 trial modifications were canceled. But representatives of the government should know, if anybody should, that all these stats about mortgage modifications and home price stabilization are looking backwards, looking straight into the mouth of a government-subsidized housing market. After the expiration of the home buyer tax credit, home buyer traffic fell off like a cliff. Realtors, mortgage bankers, home builders, ask any of them. The drop is even worse than expected. Initial data points to a double dip in home sales and prices before recovery, perhaps sometime next year. We are also seeing a recent surge in bank repossessions and short sales, which will only put more pressure on home prices. Quote, obviously we are not out of the woods, unquote, Donovan admitted. Our housing recovery remains fragile. You know, I'm always wary of report cards, especially those with strong political agendas behind them. The numbers are clear and irrefutable, but I'm not sure they included all the subject matter that needs to be covered. So once again, like I always say, this market right now is the best buyer's market you and I will ever see in our lifetime. If you or anybody you know is thinking about buying or selling, do so now. If you need help with that process anywhere in the world, give us a call here at ERA. We are global. And if you're looking to make a move into real estate, give me a call. I'd love to talk with you. Anyway, this is Duane signing off. Happy trails to you as always. Proud to be an American.